Hi, I'm John Volz, owner of Volz Bros Automotive, and we're going to go over a winter weather checklist for your car. So with wiper blades, generally once a year is a good rule of thumb for replacing them. What you want to inspect on them is if you lift the wiper up, you want to look at the ends of them to make sure they're not torn or cracked. In this case, these look like they're in pretty good condition. So with headlights and running lights, I usually say in winter, the more visible you are, the better. So I personally use them all winter long. Another comment I would make is for folks with newer cars with daytime running lights. When you have your daytime running lights on, your tail lights aren't always activated. So I usually recommend turning your headlights to the on position for winter driving. I get a lot of questions about tire chains, cables, tires in general during the winter months. So the most important thing always comes down to tires, the condition they're in, what kind of tires you have, etc. So the condition of tires we'll talk about first. The first thing to take into consideration is the depth of your tread. The limit of how low they're allowed to be is what's called 3/32. That's kind of how we measure them. They have gauges that you can stick in here and measure the depth of your tread. So these ones right here are 10/32, so they're in great condition. But these are also general all season or mud and snow tires, which definitely doesn't mean they're really equipped for good winter driving. This here is an actual snow tire that we have as an illustration. This is what's called a studless snow tire. They're a really soft tread compound, and they really just do amazing at traction in the snow, both with traction going and traction stopping, which is equally as important. Another option, like on this car here, it's a two-wheel drive, so tire chains or cables or something else you can take into account. Both are options for a vehicle like this. Cables are usually a little easier to work with. On two-wheel drive cars, you're generally going to want to put the chains or cables on the drive axles, which on this car it's a front-wheel drive, so we'd put them up front. On four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive vehicles, if you have a good set of snow tires, you generally don't need chains or cables unless you're going in really poor conditions. I get a lot of questions about the difference between two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and then more specifically, what modes to use under certain conditions. And I mean, the basic rundown is a two-wheel drive vehicle gives power to, two wheels, typically the front wheels, or on a truck it'd be the rear wheels that got power. A four-wheel drive vehicle has a manual mode that you can select to put it in four-wheel drive, which gives you power to both the front and the rear wheels. And then all-wheel drive is computer controlled, and it sends power to where it senses it needs it and pulls power away from a wheel if it sees it slipping or something like that. And then all cars have different settings, like different gearing modes for the snow. Some of them have like a two-wheel drive low mode, like some of these Toyotas. The fact of the matter is you really should check with your mechanic about your vehicle specifically and get a rundown on what all those modes do and the best use for them practically in your driving conditions. Okay, the next step is what to do when you actually head out. The first thing I would say to do is check Ubinet for your road conditions. And then get your car ready for the drive. People ask me a lot about whether or not you need to warm up a vehicle. Mechanically speaking, you don't really need to. These cars warm up pretty quick and they have pretty good fuel management systems, but I think from a safety aspect, warming cars up is always a good idea for a couple of reasons. It makes you comfortable when you go out and drive because the heater's working and you're comfortable in your car, you're warm enough. It also defrosts the windows and gives you better visibility. So I think from that standpoint, personally, I always warm up my cars a few minutes before I head out in the winter just so that I can see and I'm comfortable in it. Also, before you head out, you want to check weather conditions overnight. If it snowed overnight, you obviously want to brush any excess snow you have off the vehicle, as that can create a road hazard when you're driving. When you're getting the snow and stuff off your windshield, you really don't want to use a scraper to scrape the side mirrors. That can damage them. And even with the best snow tires or chains and cables, the fact of the matter is they don't really do much for you when the weather conditions are really poor. So I think limiting your driving, planning your trips, and planning ahead is kind of the best thing you can do. And with all this stuff, always you want to get it checked before the snow comes, that way you're prepared for it. I mean, if your brakes are making any noises, if you have any dash warning lights on that you're not used to having, it's definitely something you should get checked before the winter. It's best to get that checked by your licensed mechanic so that they can look through everything and make sure the vehicle is roadworthy and safe for you. Ultimately, we really want you safe on the road, which makes everyone else safe on the road.